to head on in and settle in and all that stuff. I've just washed my hair, hence the turban thingy. It's kind of out of whack. Let's see. Ah, there, here we go. Sorry I'm a few minutes late this Sunday afternoon. Oh, Lord. I was puttering around in the piles of stuff and tools and such outside. Found a bunch of my tools, by the way. Of course, not the got them sorted into the hi, red pill. Uh, anyway, then I watched an episode of Downton Abbey, the TV series. The previews for the movie got me interested, and not I'm kind of hooked. But man, they keep killing people off. My favorite characters either go to prison or get killed. So anyway, I didn't watch the time too well, and that episode of Downton Abbey ended at 12 after 3, and I'm supposed to go on the air at 3. So I'm fussing and fuming and sorry I'm late. But I'm here with a very slow internet connection and a bad sinus headache. Does a sinus headache hurt on the back of my head? I've never understood that. Yeah, it hurts up front too, but the biggest pain is in the back on that little bump on the side. What software am I using? I'm just on YouTube with a laptop that has a built-in camera and microphone. Why? Um, this is what I've got. I do own headphones, but when I plug those in, I'm tied to the computer and I can't sit still that long. Oh, you can't get yours to work? I think if you're broadcasting on YouTube, you have to go into the settings and tell it where your microphone and camera are and give it permission to use them. On Spreaker, I'm not sure because I did it once years ago and I don't remember, and it was a different computer. I'm just on the Chrome browser. If it gets glitchy, I'll try Firefox, but I'm used to Chrome. Software. I don't have any special software. Oh dear. Hi, Tim. Green Glass. YouTube thinks my name is a cuss word. I had to approve your comment. Geez. Anyway, I had all these plans for getting back into Ancient of Days here on YouTube and talking about the Bible and stuff, but I'm rattled. I slept in till 8 o'clock, and with the clock change, that means I really slept till 9. So I feel all weird. Yes, you can call me Tessa or even Tess. Hang on. I can't reach my chocolate. Oh, come on, where is it? Darn, it's in here somewhere underneath the cans of cat food. There we go. Um, this whole week has been weird. At least it hasn't rained. Uh, it's just been very cold and sunny and dry, and all these various fires in Southern California have messed up the air. We had a few small ones here on and near the mountain, but they didn't get out of hand. Anyway, I just got, well, I just ordered, I should say, a cat fountain. My new rescue kitty. Every time I go to wash my hands in the bathroom, she insists on drinking from the running faucet. So, sorry, there's noises outside. Neighbors' kids. Anyway, she insists on drinking from the faucet, so I'm getting her a cat fountain. Then maybe I can wash my hands without having to move the cat first. It really bothers me when children scream because they're having fun, not because there's anything wrong. Do they really expect people to come? How can you tell the difference between a scream for help and a scream because, oh, I'm happy? I never did that. Chocolate. Chocolate. Oh my God. There's already Kleenex in my pocket. Anyway, or a napkin, I should say. I had all these plans to get into the Bible again. I'm fascinated with John's Gospel. Why? Well, because of the project I'm writing now. My working title is The X in Exegesis. And my late ex-husband, Philip K. Dick, wrote a lot about logos. It's really logos, but I grew up calling it logos. In his exegesis. And of course, the Gospel of John begins, in the beginning was the Word. And he wrote it in Greek, and he didn't say word exactly, he said logos, which is much more than a word. The Greeks had a word for any plain old word, lexi, Lexi, and we get our English word lexicon from that. A lexicon is basically a word list or a dictionary. So logos is really something else. It's rational thought, it's creative speaking, as in God said, let there be light, and there was light in Genesis chapter 1. Logos is more. than just a word. Now, where's my Bible? Everything is a mess. Everything's a horrible mess here. I've been using a website called Bible Gateway to get Bible verses, but my internet is so glitchy and slow today. I thought I'd just get a King James Bible and open it. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And John goes on to say that Jesus Christ was the Word, the Logos. Let's see. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. Well, yeah. What did God do when he was creating? He spoke. So let's kind of flip back to Genesis, chapter 1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And verse 3, the important one. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. The first thing God made was light. Now, in verse 2, we have a formless and void earth and darkness on the face of the deep. And since we're modern and scientific, we want to say, well, where'd that stuff come from? An ancient Israelite would say, who cares? So God made light first. In other words, verse 1 is not saying God created the heavens and the earth. It's saying, as the, I can't remember the exact, I think it's the Jewish Bible Society, not sure, or Hebrew Bible Society. The newest Jewish translation says, when God began to create the heavens and the earth. So there's this stuff here, and he's turning it into heavens and earth. But in verse 3, he makes light by what? By saying, let there be light. That's the word that is God and is with God. And verse 4, and God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And verse 5, and God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. Well, excuse me, but can that really be a 24-hour day when there's no sun in the sky? It doesn't say he made the sun. It says he made light. And the word yom for day can mean any period of time. But anyway, let's keep going. On the second day, verse 6, and God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. So once again, on the second day, God says, and it comes to be, the Logos that is with God and is God creates God's word. Now, question. If God started on, let's say, Sunday and created light, is the second day Monday? Or is it just the second time that God spoke? Could it be that God made light and then went on vacation for 1,000,000 years? So the second day was not Monday, but I don't know, Friday the 13th or something. Someday, millions of years in the future. Who knows? And then on the third day, and God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. So is that Tuesday, or is it just say 1,000,000,000 years after day 2? We don't know. I gotta go back. I gotta show I gotta show you something that's been bugging me forever. On the fourth day, and God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. Now, this fourth day, when he made the 2 lights, well, we can be pretty certain that the greater light was the sun. But why does the lesser light need to be the moon? I gotta type. Okay. The moon isn't a light. It's a mirror that reflects the sunlight. And it isn't terribly reliable. We have the new moon. We have eclipses of the sun, eclipses of the moon. Um, what if these ancient and some not so ancient cultures that worshipped Saturn had a good reason to worship it? What if the lesser light was Saturn? Glowing like a star, not as bright as the sun, but glowing, lighting up the night. What if Saturn didn't have rings originally? What if something terrible happened to Saturn that caused it to dim and caused it to have a ring of debris around its equator? What if Saturn was the lesser light in the sky? In the Greek myths, by the way, Saturn actually kicked his father Uranus. There's no nice way to pronounce that planet's name. How about Uranus? Uranus, heaven. That's what it means. In the Greek myths, Saturn kicked his father Heaven out it far away and took over. So maybe Heaven or Uranus was originally the lesser light and Saturn took over. But then Saturn's son Zeus uh, You see, Saturn had this habit of swallowing his children. Zeus's mother, Earth, by the way, um, hid him and gave her husband Saturn, or Kronos in Greek, gave him a rock wrapped in swaddling clothes to swallow. Um, and when Zeus or Jupiter grew up, he brothers and sisters out. So that would kind of cause Saturn to have rings and to dim. And Jupiter or Zeus just couldn't quite glow hard enough to light the night. So, as they say, somebody parked the moon in the sky. And perhaps when they parked it, it caused a global flood. Of course, this is all speculation, but it is based on years and years of studying and pondering and not just listening to YouTube and other podcasts, but that too. Also reading and writing and discussing. What if the moon was parked around the Earth? Kind of makes sense. It's the weirdest thing. First, it's too big to be a moon, a natural moon of the Earth. The other planets have moons that are bigger than our moon, but those planets are huge. Proportionally, the moon isn't a satellite at all. We're a twin planet. The moon and Earth are a double planet. The Earth orbits the moon as much as the moon orbits the Earth. At least that's how I see it. It's amazing how the moon always shows the same side to us. We have to send out space probes to see the other side of the moon. And I know it isn't really the dark side, but someone is riding a very noisy scooter out front. Anyway, the moon just its orbit around the Earth is too circular. It should be elliptical, and it's very close to perfectly circular. It just seems to me that there's all these questions about the moon that we need to answer. In my novel, Fallen Angels, the moon or Luna is an artificial satellite that gets covered with rocky debris and the violent explosion of the planet where the asteroid belt is now. I think that's as good a speculation as any. Well, we didn't exactly bomb the moon. We, yeah, kind of. It's, we, if I understand it correctly, we hit an area near the South Pole with a projectile, not a bomb. I hope we didn't bomb it. Just dropped a metal thing. I'm forgetting words, but they say it rang like a bell. Now, that doesn't mean it went ding dong. It means that the seismic waves that we measured just didn't seem like the reaction of a solid planet to being bumped with a basically a dud, a bomb that doesn't blow up. It does seem to have some hollow parts to it as our space program learns more and more about the moon. They won't, they refuse to conclude that it is literally hollow, but they admit that the moon must have hollow spaces in the interior. Oh, Oswald's hair. Yeah, well, I washed my hair, so I wrapped it up in this here turban towel. It's it's all wet, my hair. But I had to wash it. It was going to grow legs and run off by itself. Well, Oswald, you missed the discussion of Genesis and the Logos and John's Gospel. Anyway, I would to get back to exegesis. Phil Philip K. Dick, my late ex-husband, focused a great deal of writing on the Logos. I'm just used to calling it logos, but it's really logos, the word, the creative word that God spoke when he said, "Let there be light." Dawn is here. I don't see a Dawn in chat. Oh, there he is. Hi, Dawn. I'm so sorry. I have to take a quick break. Um, I will be right back, so don't go anywhere. Man. Sorry about that. Minor emergency. Okay, where was I? Oh, yeah, X. What did I call this chat anyway? The darn thing doesn't tell me. Well, I guess I'm a glutton for punishment. Hi, Crichton. I'm writing a rather academic work in which I explore the X in exegesis. And that requires me to read the big fat book, Exegesis. I've taken off the dust cover so I don't destroy it. The Exegesis of Philip K. Dick, edited by Pamela Jackson and Jonathan Latham, and Eric Davis, annotations editor. I'm in about 30 pages, but you know, I was there when he wrote the darn thing. It's a humongous book. Some nice online friend book for me. I couldn't afford it. It has some samples of Phil's writing, his handwritten exegesis. A great deal of it never got into the book, partly because it's written by hand and nearly illegible. I've transcribed several pages for the Zebrapedia project. Another reason a lot of it didn't get into the published version is it would have been the size of the Encyclopedia Britannica, 20 volumes. Well, there's sort of a Jesus in exegesis, but not really. Jesus is Yesu. Well, I'm going to spell it with a Y, even though it's really a J. It's the sound of Y. And exegesis, I've forgotten. It's something else. But Jesus' name is really Joshua or Yeshua. Exegesis is a way of explicating scripture, pulling out not really hidden meanings, but meanings below the surface. And frankly, what Phil was doing was more, oh, come on, eisegesis. Because rather than, well, there's Sleepy Dave. You missed some really good stuff, you guys. I was late, but you're even later. See, exegesis requires you to interpret scripture in terms of its own time, place, and culture. What Phil was doing was inserting his own time, place, and culture into scripture. That's eisegesis. Oh, well, see, I post on Facebook and Twitter before I actually hit the go on the air button. But I'm trying to do 3 p.m. every Sunday. And if I'm willing and able and my internet will let me, I'll pop in once in a while, kind of unannounced. I know that if I'm on YouTube, a little red bell up on the top right hand of the screen will let me know that something is notifying me, and I'll check it out. But yes, if I wait for the email notice, I always miss the first few minutes. Anyway, I was talking about how the Logos in John's Gospel, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, is just like the first day in Genesis when God says, "Let there be light," and there was light. God spoke, and things came into being. And let's see. On the second day, he divided the waters and all that stuff. Cigarette smoke wafting around because the ceiling fan is on. Well, anyway, but if the first day was Sunday, was the second day Monday? Or was it just the second time God spoke? In other words, did he make light and then go on vacation for 1 billion years? And then come back and say, let the waters be divided. I think that's totally reasonable, but I don't know which is true. You see, day in Hebrew is yom, Y-O-M, and it really means a period of time. It usually means the same thing we mean when we say day, the approximately 12 hours of daylight. But the Hebrews also used it the way we do when we say, back in the day, like back in the days of, or back in the day of horse and buggy, or in my day, meaning when I was young. Yeah, no, actually, we go back on standard time today. March through October is daylight saving. I'm typing while talking. That's the confusion which led people to vote to allow California to stay on daylight saving time because everybody thought it was the winter hours when we need it to get light an hour early. But actually, we are now on standard time, not daylight saving. So if California goes to daylight saving, we'll be back to getting up in the dark in the winter. Because this here is standard time. All right. Sleepy Dave thinks God took 6 literal 24-hour days to. So I had it a minute ago. All right. Let's see. Now you see, the Bible wasn't written in English. Okay, first day, and God said, let there be light. Second day, and God said, let there be a firmament. Could be 6 literal 24-hour days. But what's interesting is on the seventh day, God rested. And he's still resting. He isn't creating anything anymore. Well, how long a day is that? 6,000 years by some reckoning, billions of years by other people's reckoning. Yes, he made the seventh day to rest, but is that seventh day 24 hours, or is it from this Saturday till now? By some people's reckoning, billions of years. By others, 6,000 or 10,000. By the way, the 6,000 years is based on the calculations of an Irish bishop named Usher. For some reason, he had 2 S's in Usher. Bishop Usher. And he made mistakes. His calculation of 6,000 years was much too short. But I think he was still closer than, 5 or 6 billion years, as so many cosmologists say. Okay. Yeah, Oswald, I just can't approve that post. Well, okay, I'll approve it. See, YouTube thinks it's cussing, but I think it's Irish. Anyway, I think the Irish misspell every word they've got. All the Gaelic, or yeah, I'll go with Gaelic, not Celtic. All the Gaelic languages seem to be an exercise in making sure you can't tell how to pronounce a word when you see it written down. Apparently, I might be a smidgen Irish, but I'm really Scottish. Scottish, Dutch, Norman French, a bit of Welsh. I'm a real mix of ancestry, but I think I'm more Scottish than anything. There's even see, I'm a Busby. My maiden name is Busby, and there's actually a town in Scotland called Busby. I like to tell people, yeah, maybe your ancestors came on the Mayflower, but my ancestors met the boat because I'm also Cherokee. And people who know Native Americans look at me and think I'm a Native American. They'll say, "You're an Indian, aren't you?" "Yeah, I'm Cherokee." I must be a throwback, but I am mostly Scottish. Bit of Dutch. Mom used to say 1/4 Dutch, but I think it's more like 1/8. Some of my Dutch ancestors owned a good part of Long Island, or as they say in Queens, Long Island. Anyway, the thing is, our moon just doesn't seem to be a natural object. The scientists try to explain it as maybe the something hit the earth while it was still molten and it split in two, or a chunk came off. That doesn't work out. It doesn't, the orbits are wrong. And then they say, well, maybe it's a captured object, but a captured object should not have such a circular orbit. It should be all wonky, elliptical. And the way the moon always shows the same face toward the earth is really weird. What are they hiding on the other side? My best guess is that at least part of the moon is artificial. The moon isn't a light, Dawn, it's a mirror. It doesn't make its own light. And it isn't terribly reliable since every month it goes dark and we call it new moon. And there are even lunar eclipses when the Earth's shadow eclipses the moon and all that stuff. I still can't figure out, I can't quite articulate how a lunar eclipse is different from a new moon, but it is. And then it says God created a greater light and a lesser light. Well, the greater light is obviously the sun, but the moon is not a light. As I went through before you guys got here, ancient people, and actually some modern cultures like I've deliberately avoided saying that because I can't remember the name of the tribe in Nigeria that worships Saturn. Dogon, I guess. You hear about the Dogon and Syria, Sirius. the star, but they really worshiped Saturn. And ancient people worshipped Saturn because it used to be the lesser light in our night sky. Something happened to Saturn, made it dim, put a ring of debris around its equator. Actually, Tim Greenglass, there are many moon goddesses. There's Artemis, Diana, um, uh, having trouble remembering. You see, what happened was this was mostly the Greeks' fault, the ancient Greeks, when they either conquered or traded with other cultures. They didn't say, no, you have to worship our gods. They just kind of brought these foreign gods into their family. So they ended up with so many gods and goddesses. They just kind of adopt the other people's gods as gods. The Celts didn't have a moon deity, that's right. By the way, Celt is a myth. I don't mind if you call them Gaels, which they really are, Gael. They're Gaelic. But Celts is just a lazy way of referring to all of the peoples of Europe before the Romans civilized them. I almost cussed. Those stupid Romans destroyed vibrant, vital cultures in the name of paving roads, building bridges and aqueducts, forcing people to live in cities. That's what civilization really means. It means you live in a city. But there were many Celtic tribes, all lumped into one, the way we talk about Asians when there's so much difference between Mongolians, Chinese, Indian, as in India, Indian. The Thai people are different from the Vietnamese, and the Koreans are different. And don't make the mistake of calling Japanese people Asians. They consider that an insult. Well, among Celts, so called Celts, there were Germani, who originally lived in Germany, but most of their descendants are in France today. The Franks lived in France, hence the name France, and the Germani lived in Germany, hence the name Germany. There were Bulgars. Apparently, they didn't actually come from Bulgaria. They settled down there for a while before moving farther west. There were all these different tribes that the civilized Romans lumped into Gauls, actually. Uh, Julius Caesar wrote, Omnia Gallia in tres parte divisere est. All of Gaul is Gaul, is divided into three parts. Well, he was close. Basically, France, Germany, and I guess northern Italy. I'm not sure. Maybe he divided France into two parts. But eventually, Western France became Norman, which was a bunch of Norse men from Scandinavia who kind of took over Western France. And they aren't Gaelic at all, they're Norse. Vikings. Some of them are my ancestors. My grandfather was my mother was a foster, descended from the Forester. who worked for the Norman French, like William of Normandy, who conquered England. A lot of the Gauls or Celts actually came from a region in Asia, kind of settled in Eastern Europe, and kind of, some stayed, some moved on into Europe in ancient times. And archaeologists and anthropologists are just beginning to learn the origins of some of these tribes. Yes, Oswald, Japanese aren't Asians and the Irish aren't European, but one is an insult and the other a compliment. Well, I don't know if European is a compliment these days. Oh, Oswald is a Fitzgerald. Quintessential Norman name. Fitzgerald. Wow. Well, anyway, these ancient peoples were not all one big group. There were all these different tribes. Oh, and there were the Lombardi of Italy, the Lombards. And I can't even think right now. Maybe I shouldn't have washed my hair. Maybe I washed out some of my brains. Well, the people of uh, I can't think of the word. That Japanese island that we still occupy to the south of Honshu. Not Attu. Attu is actually one of the Okinawa. Thank you, Crichton. Attu, I believe, is one of the Aleutian Islands off of Alaska. Okinawa. The Okinawans are considered superior to Japanese. So it's one step up to be a Japanese Okinawan. But the actual Okinawans consider themselves superior to both Japanese and Japanese who live in Okinawa. Racial divides among Japanese people. And boy, they can be real racists. They consider Caucasians inferior. Harwoods, huh? Okay. Well, I'm primarily Clan Morrison, same as John Wayne. Dad's grandma was Clara Gilmore. And yes, we're still angry at those traitors, the Campbells. Ancient history. The Campbells betrayed the Scottish and took the side of the English in the war. And now they sell us canned soup. But they do have a pretty plaid, a tartan. Oh dear. Oh dear. Ashkenazi Jews, you know what? The Ashkenazi Jews, they say, the experts say, are not racially Israelites. They're converts descended from Jacob's brother Esau. And many of Esau's descendants today live in Jordan. They're Jordanian. But, according to the New Testament, we're all chosen people if we believe. It doesn't matter who your ancestors were. But I'm still rather proud of my Scots heritage. And like many Scots, I'm sure they stopped over in Ireland for a while before coming to the New World. Humpty Dumpty. How can you have a whole audio book about Humpty Dumpty? All right, I need more water. I'll be back. It ain't far. Lord, my sinuses. They hurt here and on the back of my head. I have a love-hate relationship with the neti pot. Oh, Humpty Dumpty in Oakland. All right. I haven't read that one. But I'm reading the exegesis. Oh, yeah, I wanted to get back to exegesis. Phil was mixing in his own time, place, and culture with scripture. That's really eisegesis, so I'll type that again. Oh, come on, you evil computer. So what he wrote is really an eisegesis. But why the X? Well, Phil believed that the cross on which Jesus was crucified was shaped like the letter X. He was almost certainly wrong. But he was kind of half right about something else. When Constantine was about to engage in a decisive battle against his rival, he had a vision of a cross in the sky. But the cross that Constantine saw was shaped like the letter X. But it was really the Chi Rho, the XR, XP, or in Greek, Chi or Chi and Rho. It looks to us like XP. It was an X with the letter P running down through the center. So Phil was half right about that. But the early Christians didn't use the cross as a symbol. They used the fish sign, which of course initiated some of the most fascinating visions that Phil experienced. And, he talked a lot about the pink light. Well, it wasn't a pink light. It was a bright light that briefly blinded him. And the pink was the phosphine activities in his eyes after seeing that bright light. Yes, fish symbols are often on bumper stickers on cars. And yes, the lady from the pharmacy who brought Phil his pain pills was wearing the necklace with the fish sign. But what really caused the pink light was this bumper sticker that Phil had taped up in our window. It was silver lettering and a silver border on a black background, and it was the fish sign. And the sunlight hit it in just the right way to briefly blind Phil so that when he looked away, he was seeing the fish sign in pink, phosphine activity. I don't know about the lady from the pharmacy, but the fish sign is ichthys. Jesu Christi Theos, uh, I can't remember it all, but Jesus Christ the King. God, really. God among us. God in human form walking on earth. And you know what? Jesus didn't hang around with the priests. He argued or he debated the Pharisees, and he didn't even talk to the Sadducees. He hung out with the sinners. Well, we're all sinners, but he hung out with the people who knew they were sinners and didn't act all holier than thou. Wow. Anyway, these are just speculations to contemplate while I fry my brains reading this exegesis. It's really disappointing in some ways because they left out so much of his speculations about goddesses. They do include his writing about the Sibyl, the oracle, specifically the Sibyl at Cumae, the Italian version of the oracle at Delphi in ancient Greece. Some people say it was the same prophetess in both places. Aw, Oswald has to go. Okay. Sorry this is all messed up. I was late and I'm scattered, but I got my hair washed before it grew legs and walked away without me. And I found most of my tools. I've been wanting to get them organized and all into one toolbox so that I don't end up having to buy a tool because I can't find the one I already have. Yes, we're in prophetic times. But remember, it's always the end of the world. Always has been, always will be. We don't know when it's coming. Nobody knows, not even the Son, but only the Father. But we don't we do know that it's always the end of days, and we must behave as if it were the end of days. Oh, Dawn is an optimist. Maybe it won't ever end. Sorry, this is my pink salt. It might help with the sinuses. This crazy weather, it's dry, very low humidity, and the air pressure keeps changing. I'm definitely going to have to use that darn neti pot tonight. Anyway, The weird thing is, scientists, I guess astrophysicists, have detected that the expansion of the universe is accelerating. And it shouldn't be. Should have been gradually slowing down ever since the Big Bang. Getting slower and slower, and it has been, but now they're detecting an acceleration of the expansion. Oh, Sleepy Dave, yes, we must keep oil in our lamps. Unlike the foolish virgins, the foolish brides who didn't get to marry the prince because they were not prepared. Long story. It's a parable in the Bible. Read it. Um, wow. Where was I? Lord. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Yeah, He did. But that doesn't mean He did it in verse 1. Why would He create an earth that's without form and void when Isaiah tells us He did not create the earth without form and void? Tohu vabohu. I don't believe in the Big Bang. Science, actually, many astrophysicists no longer believe in the Big Bang. I don't understand what their alternative is. But you see, part of the reason they don't believe in the Big Bang is that it sounds too much like God spoke. And not a thing became everything. They don't want the universe to have a beginning because that's too much like the Bible. But you know, when astrophysicists and cosmologists talk about nothing, they don't mean the same thing we mean when we talk about nothing. You know, we mean there's isn't anything. What they mean is we can't observe anything, but for all we know, stuff might be there. We just can't see it. Well, yeah, God existed before the beginning, before He created everything. God is eternal. Time has no meaning when it comes to God. He always was and always will be. And so Jesus could say to the Pharisees, before Abraham was, I am. And they got very angry. You know why? I am is one of the names of God. Jesus was saying, look, I'm God. And by the way, when Jesus tells them, doesn't the scripture says, I said you are gods. People try to use that to say that, well, everybody's a god. We're all gods. That isn't what he's saying. He's referring to Psalm 82, in which God is talking to the heavenly host, saying, I said you are gods, sons of the Most High, but like men you will die. Now, he isn't saying you human beings, you're going to die like human beings. No. He's saying you heavenly host, the ones who were bad, you're going to die like men. But since we believe in immortality of the soul, that kind of leaves an opening for their spirits to live on. We don't know for sure that angels have physical bodies, but they can appear in physical form, in human form. 3 of them talked to Abraham before the thing with Sodom and Gomorrah, and one of the 3 was God Himself. We are all part of God. Well, if God is everywhere, we're definitely inside Him, but we're not gods. We have the power to become sons of God through faith in Jesus Christ, but that doesn't mean we're gods right now here on earth. And by the way, it doesn't really say we're going to go live in the sky with God. It says, "Behold, I am making a new heavens and a new earth." In other words, an earth that's just like Eden everywhere. Well, that's pretty good, Sleepy Dave. But what does in His image mean if we were created in God's image? It doesn't seem to mean that we look like Him. I mean, what Moses saw when God showed Moses His glory wasn't the form of a human being, although uh, God did come in human form to talk to Abraham, and of course in human form as Jesus Christ. But it doesn't mean that we look like Him. It means that we are imagers, we represent God. Or perhaps we are in Christ. I have to ponder that. I've heard lectures about the image and not really landing anywhere on it. But if I put the dishes in the sink, does that mean the dishes have become a sink or that they look like a sink? No, they're just inside it. Or if I work in education, am I a school? Am I this amorphous, abstract concept of teaching and learning? No, I'm still a human being. Well, we don't know what God looks like, but I'm pretty sure that we don't look like God. Right. Moses wanted to see God, and God said, I can't do that, it'd kill you. But I'll show you my hinder parts, I'll show you my glory, but I'll cover you as I pass by so you don't die. Oh, the Ezekiel thing with the chariot in the sky. The description of that chariot is standard iconography. Kings of great cities had throne chariots, and that's what Ezekiel saw in the sky. There was nothing unusual about it except that it was in the sky. But it wasn't a UFO, it was a chariot, a throne chariot of a great king, like maybe God. Ah, wow. I saw a UFO many, many moons ago in 1960. And for years, for decades, I thought I must have imagined it till my older and smarter brother brought it up. And I had never mentioned it to him because I thought I was nuts. We together when he was 9 years old and I was 6 years old, we saw a red glowing orb in the sky and coming down. I would describe it as huge, but I was a small 6 year old, so I'd say it was no more than 20 feet in diameter. And even since then, I've thought, well, maybe we both imagined it, but you know what? I found a book. Where'd I put it? About UFOs in California. Oh, come on. Where'd you go? I just got this book. Come on. Oh, well. Let's see. Maybe it's over here. There we are. Now that's something else. I was just reading it. It can't have gone far. That ain't it. It should be right here. Son of a gun. No. I'm not believing this. I was going to read it when I sign off. It's disappeared. Okay, well, it's called UFOs over California, and it describes a massive sighting stretching from Northern California around Corning. That's near Mount Shasta, and all the way down into Baja, Mexico, of glowing red orbs and other objects. Some were kind of silver and shaped like a blimp. In August of 1960, which is exactly when I remember, and my brother remembers, seeing a glowing red orb in the sky. Where is my book? I can't blame this one on the cat. She wouldn't have taken a book. She takes small objects and disappears them. Like the little box of refills for my staple gun. That isn't books. That isn't books. Where is my book? This is going to drive me nuts all evening until I find it. And then I'll go, how did it get there? Ah, yeah, that's definitely not it. How strange. Ah, bingo. Found it. UFOs over California. A True History of Extraterrestrial Encounters in the Golden State, a Schiffer book by Preston Dennett. It was cheap, so I was able to buy it. Was like, I think about $10. And chapter 5, the Red Bluff UFO wave, describes the things that we saw when we were children, and nobody would listen to us because we were children. Yes, a catastrophe. Well, I've strip searched the whole house. I can't find the little box of staples for my staple gun. And I need them because I've got this bookcase. It must be like IKEA or something. The back of it is like cardboard with a coating of plastic that looks like wood, but it's plastic. And it has to be attached to the back of the bookcase. So I was happily stapling it on when the staple gun ran out of staples, and the little refill box of staples is nowhere to be found. Perhaps someday it'll appear among the dust bunnies under the bed. One time, my cat Snowflake, originally Snowy for short, but eventually Flaky, she had a stash on the floor behind my desk. And when I found it, of course, she had pens, pencils, paper clips, rubber bands. She even had coins and dollar bills in her stash. She was a wealthy cat. All right. I'm. Yeah, I've gone long enough. You like the cool picture on the book? Let's grab it again. Yeah. Except what they saw, or what we saw, were not flying saucers. Don't know what they were. I kind of suspect that what we saw was not a solid object at all, but a projection, kind of like a hologram. Yeah, well, I got it off of Amazon, the UFOs over California. I think I did. I might have ordered it from their website. They have a website. I don't remember. But one of the nice things is the paper that it's printed on is cardstock. It's very durable. It doesn't easily tear it. If you have like index cards, it's that kind of paper. Very sturdy. And they have a whole series of books of UFOs over different places. Oh man, I'm about to really crash between the sinus headache and just being worn out. So I think I'll call it an evening, but if you get a chance, check out the Walter Bosley channel. Walter Bosley channel on YouTube. He comes on, last Sunday he came on about 5:30. He's usually on by 5 o'clock. But he speculates on all kinds of strange stuff. And he's a real, on the ground researcher. He researches books too. Oh, I know why it looks so dark in here. It isn't really as dark to me as it looks to you, but I didn't turn on the light in the ceiling. Oh, poor Sleepy Dave. No webcam, just a mic. I guess you could do audio, but there wouldn't be a picture. That's why Sleepy Dave does Spreaker. Um, I'm tempted to do Spreaker just because I don't like looking at myself. Um, ah, sorry, tired. Been a long day, but I got some things done. Um, you can get a little webcam fairly cheap, but I'm lucky. A really generous person bought me this laptop. I was about to be with no computer at all. The desktop was dying and the old refurbished Dell laptop was dead. And this really generous guy bought me this laptop over a year ago now. Oh, sorry. With the clock change, it says 4:43, but it's really 5:33, and I was up early, and I've been trying to clean up all the messes inside and outside the house. But it really is time for me to go. Radio broadcasts from crab fishing boats. Okay. Oh, Dr. Blood Money. I don't remember exactly. Um, about the radio broadcaster in Dr. Blood Money. Um, it's just been too many years since I read it, but it was kind of based on a radio talk show host that Phil either knew or knew of. I'm just not sure who. I do remember my parents listening to pirate radio in the 60s. Pirate radio is like they didn't really have a license to broadcast. But late at night, you see radio stations used to go off the air at night. These pirate radio stations would take over the airwaves when the licensed station went off the air. It was really cool. Yeah, I really gotta go, guys. It's been great having you here. Um, just really gotta go. And maybe if I get some food in me, I'll wake up, but I doubt it. Good night, folks, and thank you all for being here. Let's see, let's type that. All right. And I'll be back next Sunday, if not sooner. Night, all.